difficult times, it's good to know you have families around you can let our family help your family. Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
We have the tools, we have the talent. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time on Talk Radio WRNR. A look at local sports with the play-by-play voice of local sports, Matt Miller.
And a very happy Monday evening to all the listeners out there. Matt Crawford here with you in studio. Matt Miller on the morning shift this week, filling in for our Rob Mario, who decided to take the week off and head up to Deep Creek for a week of relaxation and vacation. So Matt Miller will be joining us each night this week from our Pitzer's Chapel location, a.k.a. his living room in a rocking chair. So, Matt, good evening.
Good evening.
How's it going?
Not bad.
Hanging drywall?
I'm working on it. I'm sure if you had me in queue, you probably heard me fussing as my youngest son and I are trying to hang it up, and that's always a fun chore when dad and son are working together.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to hang ceiling drywall, which is drywall on steroids.
Yeah, and between beams. This is a project not hanging like from the bottom of beams, but we're exposing the beams that go across the living room, which creates a nice opening. It's about 32 feet wide and makes for a good open area, but we really like the idea of the exposed beams, but putting the drywall up in between the beams to give it a finished look as opposed to seeing the subfloor from what's upstairs. So it's a fun project.
It does not sound like it at all. But Matt will be joining us each night, except for Friday, I believe, from our Pitzer's Chapel studio, a.k.a. his living room. So the show will go on with Matt and I this week. But again, tune into Matt Miller in the morning this week as he fills in for Rob Mario.
Hold on. I got to correct you, though, because you said I would be joining them, the audience, that is, and you, from the Pitzer's Chapel location all this week except for Friday. And the truth is, I'll be in studio tomorrow because you won't be in studio.
That's right. I'll be in the District of Columbia taking in the All-Star game, which if you haven't heard, the All-Star week for baseball is this week, and the festivities really start tonight. There's the Futures game and the Celebrity Softball game, but the real activities that people care about start tonight with the Home Run Derby, and then the 89th MLB All-Star game will take place tomorrow night. And I will be there live for Miller time, and Matt Miller will be back in here, so I'm making him drive back in so that somebody can be in here and we can report to you live from Nationals Park and the 89th MLB All-Star Game.
I'm anxious to hear your reports. I'm just, anxious to get an idea of a little of the inside scoop on what's going on at the All-Star Game, as tomorrow will really be the big day. I mean, it's obviously a big day for the Home Run Derby and some other activities going on, including, the Major League experience, kind of like the NFL does with their experience around the Super Bowl. There's a lot happening for fans, but, tomorrow to see international media, converging for this big event, I think is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going on from the ballpark.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for me, too, because I've never been able to experience a game from the media perspective per se. I'm like, obviously Shepherd I have, but nothing at this stage, and to have my first real media experience at a professional sporting event be on this stage, being the All-Star Game, should be a unique experience.
With as many Japanese players as there are now in the major leagues, I'm sure there'll be a good presence. It'd be cool if you could get a hold of one of the Japanese reporters and maybe get an international feel for baseball.
Yeah, and today was media day for the All-Star Game, and just watching a lot of the interviews on the TV in the studio throughout the day, just watching all the translations that had to be made just for a simple interview. It reminds you of just every corner of the world that Major League Baseball players come from.
I went through that one time when the Washington Wizards back in the day used to hold training camp at Shepherd University. George Murison, in his very early years with the Wizards, was obviously there, and we got a chance to do an interview. And I remember the first year that we did the interview, we had to go through a translator. And that was the first time I had ever been in that situation where I would ask the question, hold the microphone over so you could hear the interpreter take the question to the Romanian language, and then to hear his response on mic, and then come back and hear the interpreter give it to me in English. It made for a lengthy interview, but a really fun and unique interview.
I was going to say, it's definitely probably the most unique interview you've ever done.
Oh, and part of that uniqueness was just the size of George Murasan. I stuck my hand out to shake his hand like I would anybody else's, and instead of that kind of groove between your thumb and your index finger where, most other people's hands would meet yours and you would shake, his hand was so large, he reached out and my thumb ended up in the palm of my hand with his entire hand engulfing mine, and his fingers worked up to my wrist and a little beyond my wrist, just the size of his hand. And thankfully, he was a gentle giant.
Yeah, and you and I are usually not the guys that are seen as the small guys in a group.
Yeah, well, but not tall-wise, but maybe in other ways.
All right, well, let's recap the weekend, or at least what happened yesterday. The Nats get a win over the Mets, are going into the All-Star break a little bit over halfway through. Usually the All-Star game is right at about that halfway mark, or at least close enough that you consider it the halfway point. But this year, it's pushed back a week, so you're probably 2 weeks past the midpoint of the season. But the Washington Nationals bring back to 500, get their record to 48-48, and go into the All-Star game on I guess you can consider it a high note, but I'm not really sure how the Nationals fans are seeing going into the All-Star break.
I would consider it maybe a middle note, not a high note. Clearly it was better for them to go into the All-Star break coming off of a win and at least being 500, but they've got to look back at this week and still scratch their heads. We talked about it 1 week ago today. The Nationals coming off of winning 3 out of 4 at home against Miami after a players-only meeting, but frankly could have easily gone 1-3 instead of 3-1 in that series when you look at how the two of at least of the wins played out. And then the lopsided loss in the series finale, they go to Pittsburgh and lose 2 out of 3 and then split 4 games in New York against a Mets team that had been struggling. And, a road trip, we talked about it would be really nice to be 5-2, 6-1 would help. And now you feel like they're ready to turn the corner and make a run at this NL East, and they just didn't get it done.
No, it wasn't necessarily an awful road stand in the first half of the season, but a ideal road trip if you were a Nats fan looking at how they could have finished the first half of this season. Davey Martinez talked to the media yesterday after the 6-1 win over the Mets, and these were his thoughts on the first half of the National season.
It's not disappointing. I mean, people can say, you look at our record, the Nationals should be this, that, but I'm proud of the boys and this team. I mean, like I said, we went through some adversity, and, we utilized 40-something guys, in the first few months. So to get those many guys in and out and try to focus on just playing every day, it's tough. And I credit these guys for being where we're at right now, and we still got a lot of baseball left. So I think the second half is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm not sure how to take those comments because I'm not sure with how much talent this Nationals team has. I get there have been some injuries, but you and I have talked about this over and over again. The guys that stepped up during those injuries did perform and have been some of the better performers on this team. I'm not sure that Davey Martinez should be as happy with the first half as he's leading on.
No, I mean, it's clearly been disappointing. This is a team that should be on paper in first place in the NL East, and yet they have not gone out and played well. They haven't played consistent, I guess, is maybe a good way to look at it, and maybe that's part of the injuries and part of what Davey Martinez was saying there, and, it's hard to blend in so many guys, but, you look at some games they go out, and they've pounded out, 17, 18 runs in a couple of games, pounded out 7 home runs in a game. But at the same time, they've been shut out almost as much as any other major league team during the first half of the season. Too many times where they don't have offense. So you can go from 18 runs, 17 runs down to 2 runs, 1 run, or no runs. They get good pitching, but on the night they get good pitching, they don't get good hitting, and they end up losing tight ball games, a la Max Scherzer in 5 straight starts, 0-4 with a no decision, but an ERA barely above 2. So the consistency factor is the thing that hopefully they can find a way to put together during the stretch after the All-Star break, where they're getting pitching, hitting, and defense all at the same time, and whether they win 2-1 or win 6-5, make it all happen.
The Nats heading into the All-Star week, 5.5 games back in the NL East of the Philadelphia Phillies, the Atlanta Braves nipping at the heels of the Phillies. They're just a half game out of that division lead. So the Nationals definitely have some ground to make up. Matt, before we get in our first break, while you like any win, you got to like the way the Nats put the runs across yesterday. It wasn't the power slugging Nationals that we've seen sporadically throughout the season so far. And they won the game yesterday and scored runs playing small ball, which they have struggled doing throughout the year so far.
Yeah, they've had a bunch of home runs, but a bunch of solo home runs at times in games. So maybe this is, one of those games that they can begin to feed on, begin to build on, although it's hard to build on that game when you're now going to be off for an entire week. They won't be back on the field as a Nationals team until the Braves come to town this weekend, and this becomes an absolutely big series with Atlanta right now only a half a game back in the NL East. The Nationals 5.5 back. So while they may not gain ground on the Phillies, depending on how they do, it's certainly a chance to catch up with the Braves.
Yeah, it has been a unique first half of the season for the Washington Nationals, to say the least. I don't think anybody would have predicted that the Nationals would be at 500 and chasing the Phillies and the Braves going into the All-Star week. All right, we got to get in our first break. Matt, when we come back, we will talk about the struggling Baltimore Orioles and a certain player that Buck Showalter removed from the rain delay yesterday, and he gave sort of his reasons why. We will talk about that and the All-Star break, along with a special Matt Miller, I guess, segment you want to call it, as the show goes on. But right now, we got to get in our first break. We will be back after this short 3-4 minute break. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
Looking at the new revolution. This one is...
Hello, this is Delegate Mike Folk, candidate for West Virginia Senate District 16. I want to extend my personal congratulations to all the Little League All-Stars this summer. As a former 3-sport athlete and Shepherd football player, I understand the importance of discipline, hard work, and perseverance, something our All-Stars have in common. As you continue your journey through this summer and your life, remember this quote from Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, who said, "Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't." Best of luck and have a great tournament.
Say good morning to our Friday group here. Joe Ferretti, whose law firm today is now called Ferretti Law.
King of the Mountain. He's gotten rid of all the partners.
Careful when you talk about an Italian getting rid of people. It was all legit. You sat down with David Hammond and you said, "I never wanted this for you." Governor Hammond, Senator, not Judge Hammond, certainly not Armin Hammond, but this is what I had about
Rob does that a little bit too well, don't you think?
Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and David. What did you listen to last week?
I'm Omar Reese with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Don't expect any complacency in Philadelphia now that the Eagles have won their first Super Bowl. Head coach Doug Peterson says he likes the effort he's seen from his team so far this offseason, and had this to say Sunday about last year's super season.
It's going to be special for our fans to be able to see that banner in our stadium, Lincoln Financial, and it's going to be a great day, but at the same time, we've also got to turn the page. We got to move on to 2018 and get ready for another tough schedule, and camp's just right around the corner. Yeah. So we're gearing up for that.
Peterson will have Darren Sproles for one more year, and that is it. The 14-year veteran announcing Sunday the 2018 season will be his last. Sproles has the 8th most all-purpose yards in NFL history. And can we expect a new-look Cowboys next season? Cowboys offensive coordinator Scott Linehan admitting they're toying with some new concepts and formations, calling them a, quote, in-house secret right now. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
I used to leave voicemails for myself because the only one I could trust to get something done right was me.
Hey, you, it's me. Remember to order safety goggles and grab some milk on your way home.
But now I use Grainger. Grainger's got the technical support you'd expect from America's #1 source for industrial-grade supplies. They're in the business of helping my business, so no more talking to myself. Now, I talk to Grainger, because when it comes to keeping your business running, Grainger's got your back. Call or click Grainger.com to see for yourself. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Email phishing attacks cost businesses billions annually in real cash, data loss, and brand damage. Phishing emails are hard to detect because the messages appear to be legitimate to unsuspecting employees. Introducing Barracuda Fishline, a groundbreaking cloud-based solution designed to help employees recognize sophisticated email phishing attacks through interactive training reinforced by continuous simulation. Transform your employees from a liability into a line of defense.
Come to Valley Guns 2 in Inwood for Smith & Wesson handguns like the MP 2.0 9mm full-size semi-automatic and the MP 2.0 compact. Or check out the Model 60 Pro Series Smith & Wesson revolver. For the ladies, there's the Smith & Wesson 380 Shield Easy. It's easy to load, easy to shoot, and easy to carry. See the full line of Smith & Wesson handguns at Valley Guns 2, Exit 5 off I-81 Inwood, West Virginia. Online at valleyguns2.com.
And here he goes.
West Virginia football.
He's going to go all the way in. Touchdown.
Lives here.
And here we go. A home run ball deep downfield. And he makes the catch right up the middle. He goes. He's on his way. It's a foot race. He's going to score. 15, 10-foot end zone. Touchdown. West Virginia.
Join us all season long on your home for the Mountaineers. The Mountaineers Sports Network from IMG.
The season begins September 1st on Talk Radio WRNR, your local leader in talk, news, sports.
And welcome back into this Monday edition of Miller Time. Matt Crawford here with you in studio. Matt Miller joining us via his house as he is replacing Rob Mario, or should I say just filling in for Rob Mario, not replacing, but filling in for Rob Mario in our morning shows, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, and the Morning Fuel, I believe, is our 6 to 8 morning show. So Matt will be joining us most of the week from his house, except for tomorrow when he will be back in studio, and I will be joining in via phone from the 89th MLB All-Star Game. Matt, we're talking about the Nationals going into the break. Now let's talk about the team going into the break going into the All-Star week with the worst record in the major leagues, the Baltimore Orioles, who beat your Texas Rangers twice out of the last 4 days.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. It's too easy.
Well, and one of those was a 1-0 game, and then yesterday was a 6-5 game. So the Rangers were so close to knocking off the worst team in baseball.
Well, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as the worst team in baseball beat you, or you can look at it as you're the same level as the New York Yankees.
Nah, and then we're not at any level near the New York Yankees. The Rangers have flat out struggled this year.
Yes, they have, but not as much as the 28-69 Baltimore Orioles. 69 losses going into the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And to think, not just them, and you've talked about it a little bit before, the aspect of how many teams are, on pace to have an almost record-setting bad season. There's a better opportunity to have more teams lose 100 games this year than there are to have teams that will be anywhere near 100 wins.
That's why the home run era in baseball needs to settle down a little bit. Too many strikeouts, too many home runs. Get back to station baseball.
And that's why you're a National League guy, right? You love the idea of the pitcher hitting and laying down the sacrifice bunt, stealing bases, hit and run, doing all of those things, as opposed to maybe more of the American League style that says, the old Earl Weaver philosophy, get a ball on base and hit the 3-run homer.
Exactly. All right, let's go back to the Orioles. And I'm going to play you a comment from Buck Showalter. It's actually a couple of comments. It's about a 2-minute piece when he talked to the media yesterday. And it's about a certain player who got removed from the game. They had a rain delay during the game yesterday. And this was about a certain player that has been in the news that is most likely going to not be an Oriole come the return to baseball after the All-Star break. So here are the comments from Buck Showalter on one Manny Machado.
Taking out Manny, I think it's probably because of the field, but was that the reasoning, wet field?
Oh, that's part of it, yeah. I'm not going to, I think we're all adults here, and some more than others, right? But we know what's going on, the potential, okay? So, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that was all it. First, my thought on that is, what are you telling the other 8 people? Obviously there's a different situation going on with Manny. I'm not going to, it's just frankly, y'all know that. So, it had a lot to do with it.
Did you think the field was a little messy?
Of course it is. We play on stuff, all year long like that, but the ground crews are so good. It gets better as the game goes on, especially when you know that. But, a month ago, he wouldn't come out of the game. We know that. I'm not going to, y'all know, you're smart. I think you know what's going on.
Sorry, this is the first time that obviously the trade rumors have kind of directly correlated to something on the field. Is it tough to not make that a distraction, like you were saying, for the rest?
I was proud. I was really proud, John. You think about, players are very smart. They know what's going on, and they try not to listen to a lot of it, but people are constantly reminding them of it. And heck, my daughter's even asking me if I know that, and I don't, which is ignorance is bliss for me. So I talked to Manny during the rain delay, and talked to him again before we came down here. And, we're looking forward to watching him play for the Orioles in the All-Star game. I feel confident that's going to happen.
If this pushes the memory such continue to sustain through going into Friday and beyond, will you handle him any differently, or is it just going to be the exact same thing, put his name in lineup? And
I can't really say, Dan. There's variables that play into each day, and I take the variables in that day and see how it correlates to where we are with everything. Dan and his group are working very hard on a lot of things to make us better today and down the road. And, the timing of that is always a challenge. So I'm going to make sure he doesn't have to worry about anything down here. And, we'll make the adjustments that need to be made.
Buck Showalter, the manager of the Orioles, talking about Manny Machado. And Matt, this is the first time that I can remember, at least the first time I've ever hearing an interview like this, where a manager of a baseball team / coach of really any team has, I'm going to say, admitted that he has pulled a player because ownership and management above him know that he's going to get traded and he doesn't want to get injured.
Well, as I hear him say that, I wonder if it was almost a call from management as opposed to even his own decision, because, he commented, the grounds crews do a great job in situations like this. These are trained professionals who know how to handle those moments, and the field actually tends to get better at times in games like that. And he even mentioned, what's it say about the other 8 guys? Well, wait a minute, your health or your risk of injury is not as important as this guy's. I think what it says is that may have been a call from the front office going, hey, we don't need him back out there risking getting hurt because he's not going to be here much longer.
But yeah, and the part that got me was Buck Showalter used the term ignorance is bliss, and regarding to what he knew. And to me, the fact that you pulled him out, you must know something. If you don't have any idea he's going to get traded, you assume he's going to be an Oriole. To me, that's not knowing anything.
Well, and you can't make an assumption he's going to be an Oriole. Obviously the manager has to be right at the front of those who understand at some point in time over the course of the next 2 weeks, Manny Machado will not be a Baltimore Oriole unless the teams that are, or should I say, unless the Baltimore Orioles are asking too much of the teams that are, in that hunt to get him. In other words, if they look at it and say, the risk reward is not worth it for us to go after a Manny Machado and give away so much that Baltimore wants in order to get a player that, we still then have to figure out how to sign after the end of this season. Unless there's some craziness that goes on in that regard, I don't see how Machado wraps up the season in Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And again, it may be an issue where the Orioles want to rebuild based on one trade, but I just don't see that happening at all. I think this is a true rebuild kind of an organization, and Dan Duquette may be asking just frankly too much for one player.
Oh, and it may be a rebuild that goes almost from the top down, There have been rumblings about the GM. Of course, the question has to be asked when a team is flirting, with what looks like it's going to easily be a 100-loss season. Will the manager be there? And I believe his contract is up at the end of the year. So is it just a matter of fulfilling that contract and then they see where they go in the offseason? I don't know how that'll play out.
Well, we got to get in our bottom of the hour break. We'll be back with more Miller Time.
President Trump is taking withering criticism for seeming to accept Russia's denial of U.S. election meddling over the conclusion of U.S. intelligence agencies.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
He spoke at a joint news conference with Vladimir Putin following their summit in Helsinki. Republicans are among those criticizing Mr. Trump. Senate Foreign Relations Chair Bob Corker.
I just felt like the president should have been more forceful in talking about those grievances. Putin only understands strength.
CBS's Major Garrett.
For Lindsey Graham to say, you have now given the Russians a signal of weakness. As someone who is relatively close to President Trump, Lindsey Graham knows that is the cardinal insult of President Trump.
Former CIA Director John Brennan called the president's performance nothing short of treasonous. CBS News Update, I'm Pam Coulter.
Now, with your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Still pretty warm and humid this evening, with temperatures dropping into the upper 70s range through the late evening period and an early morning low near 72. We'll see clouds and showers and thunderstorms more likely for the daytime tomorrow, highs in the upper 80s. Some of these could have some heavy downpours and gusty winds with them, with a cool front coming through. Wednesday and Thursday, sunny, pleasant, highs middle 80s. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Life is complicated, but your finances shouldn't have to be. At BCT, we simplify your financial life. Bank of Charlestown is a locally owned community bank with 7 conveniently located offices serving the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, Middleburg, Virginia, and their newest office in Hagerstown, Maryland. With over 140 years of experience, BCT is the tri-state area's choice for fast, convenient, and hassle-free banking solutions. Whether you are a high school senior looking for a student checking account, a college graduate purchasing a new car, a first-time home buyer, or investing for retirement, BCT has flexible solutions to fit your lifestyle. BCT is committed to providing everyday ways to simplify your financial life. Also, make sure you are following BCT on Twitter and Instagram at MyBCT or like their Facebook page to see how BCT reinvests local deposits back into the communities they serve. BCT, we simplify your financial life.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Not too shockingly, Le'Veon Bell will have to play a second consecutive season on a franchise tag. Did not reach a long-term deal, although he did speak briefly today, hinting that he would not miss any games, is not going to hold out. His quote was, "My desire always has been to retire a Steeler." Both sides worked extremely hard today to make that happen, but the NFL is a hard business at times. DeMarcus Lawrence also did not sign, so he will be on a franchise tag of a little bit more than $17 million this year with the Dallas Cowboys. All-Star game is tomorrow night. Max Scherzer going to be on the bump for the National League. And then for the American League, it is Chris Sale. And Yoenis Cespedes, maybe some good news for the New York Mets, had 2 home runs in a simulated game today, is hopeful to be back on Friday night when the All-Star break is over. I'm Keith Irizarry, and this is NBC Sports Radio.
Smith-Nadenbush is an independent insurance agency. You see, there's an important difference between Smith-Nadenbush and agents who work just for one company. Working for one company, they can only sell the products of that company. On the other hand, Smith-Nadenbush can design a program just for you, your family, or your business, and at the right cost. Smith-Nadenbush. Martinsburg, Charlestown, and Berkeley Springs.
It's local church programming every Sunday morning. At 7 a.m., it's Living Waters Family Coffee with Pastor. At 7:30 from the Full Gospel Pentecostal Church, it's the Avenue of Prayer. At 8 o'clock, it's Home Time from the Back Creek Valley Full Gospel Church. At 8:30, it's the Apostles' Call from God Willing Ministries International. And at 9 o'clock, we join the Center Point Bible Church. 2.5 hours of local church programming on Talk Radio WRNR, FM 106.5 and AM 740. Your leader in news, talk, sports.
Welcome back into the second half hour of Miller Time. Matt Crawford here with you in studio. Matt Miller joining us from his house for the rest of the week. This segment brought to you by the Washington Nationals and Kids Batting Helmet Day. The Nationals and Harris Teeter are teaming up to present the Kids Batting Helmet Giveaway on Sunday, July 22nd. The first 10,000 kids ages 12 and under will get a cool Nationals batting helmet on their way into the Nats-Braves game at 1:35. For tickets and more information, visit nationals.com. All right, Matt, I got to tell you, we have the studio TV on, and I'm a little conflicted because I'm watching Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser, and Wilbon's in a Cubs jersey and Cubs hat. But usually I'd be loving that, but something about Wilbon, I just can't get behind it.
What, something about a minor league city?
Yeah, he's reporting from a minor league sports town.
I guess even a minor league city gets to host a minor league all-star game every now and again. So does the hosting of the major league all-star game make him think more that it's a major league city?
Who knows? But it is kind of cool because, again, you and I have talked about this, how we don't understand why sports personalities on TV think that are required to wear shirts and ties. So it is kind of cool turning a TV on and seeing Tony Kornheiser in a polo and a Nationals cap and Michael Wilbon in a Cubs jersey and a Cubs baseball cap.
It's one of the great things of baseball. Managers, coaches, they all dress just like the players in uniform, as opposed to football and basketball where coaches end up dressing in whatever from sweaters and polo shirts to down and outright three-piece suits.
Well, what was the George Carlin line? Imagine Bill Parcells in a helmet and shoulder pads.
It's hard to imagine, but
it is hard to imagine.
He wore them at one time in life, right? So
he must have. All right, bottom of the hour, Matt. You know what that means. It's time to take a look at tomorrow in sports history. We're looking ahead to the 17th of July, today being the 16th. Looking all the way back to 1902, the Orioles forfeit to St. Louis after having only 5 players available to play that day. They would then forfeit their franchise back to the AL after that.
Wow. So they've been through some tough times before. This season's nothing.
Not exactly. They're not having to forfeit franchises here. 1914, Giants outfielder Red Murray is knocked unconscious by lightning after catching a fly ball, ending a 21-inning game. The Giants won 3-1. So most of the time, a 21-inning game would be the leading headline. But no, a outfielder ending the game, catching the last out fly ball, getting struck unconscious by a bolt of lightning.
I'm going to only imagine, as a competitor, the first thing he said when he woke up in the hospital bed and they asked him, he wanted to know, I held on, right?
Yep, exactly.
I caught it.
Yep. Another 21-inning game, 1918, the longest airless game up to 1918. The Cubs beat the Phillies 2-1 in 21 innings. That's a long time to go air-free.
Yeah, that's some stellar defense. I wonder how many strikeouts were in the game. How many opportunities did those defenders get?
I'm not sure on that one, but still, I mean, you look at even the equipment they had. They didn't have the big webbed gloves or anything, so that's just pure talent. 1922, Ty Cobb gets 5 hits in a game for the 4th time in 1922. So had 4 5-hit games at this point in 1922. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. That's seeing the ball and hitting the ball well. Bryce Harper could use a few lessons from him.
Absolutely. 1934, Babe Ruth draws his 2,000th base on balls at the Cleveland Municipal Park. That's not too bad.
Oh, would you rather pitch to him and have him hit it out of the park or try to pitch around him?
Probably pitch around him if I'm taking the choice. 1941, the Yankees' Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak ends in Cleveland.
There almost had to be a relief there. You know, I mean, the pressure, I've heard others as they've gotten close, you know, and I say close, I'm talking in the upper 30s into a 40-game hitting streak. Talk about the pressure that they felt trying to catch DiMaggio. You got to imagine he felt that pressure, too, each game.
1954, first major league game where the majority of the team is African American. Do you know which team that was, Matt?
Wow. I'm going to guess it's the Cubs just because you're a Cubs fan and you brought it up.
No, it was actually the Brooklyn Dodgers.
All right.
So, again, you think of the Brooklyn Dodgers. They were very eventful in that department. 1961, Roger Maris loses a home run of his 61 in 1961 due to a rainout in the 5th inning. So one of his home runs did not count due to a rainout.
Otherwise, he would have 62, not 61.
Exactly. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, nothing you can do, though. I mean, if the game doesn't go down as a complete game in the books, you start from scratch and they play it all over again. So,
moving more modern, 1990, the New York Yankees, Deion Sanders, yes, you heard that correctly, hits a inside-the-park home run.
And one of those two-sport athletes, we've seen a few of those through the decades playing both football and baseball.
2005, the 134th British Open. Tiger Woods shoots a 274 at St. Andrews to win his 10th major and becomes only second to Jack Nicklaus to win each major more than once.
That was the prime of the career, right?
That was when golf was at its finest. It's not bad now. It's still pretty good now, but Tiger in his heyday was fun to watch. And in 2013, the 21st ESPY Awards, the male and female award winners for Athlete of the Year went to Serena Williams on the girls' side and King LeBron James on the men's side. So that is your look at what's going on tomorrow in sports history. So impress your coworkers, impress your friends with some of the knowledge you've heard on this show today. All right, Matt, we're going to bring up one of your favorite people in sports of all time because I saw this headline on ESPN and immediately thought of you and how mad it would make you. Does that give you any sort of a hint as to who I'm talking about?
Off the top of my head, no. Must be Jameis Winston?
No, not quite. I want you to think of Mr. LeVar Ball.
I don't get so mad at LeVar Ball. I get mad at the media that gives him any voice to say anything. Otherwise, LeVar Ball, for the most part, is just meaningless as far as the things that he says. Who cares? You know, really, who is LeVar Ball?
He's the father of Lonzo and LaMelo and LaMichael and Andrew or whatever Luz that are left in the Ball family.
Okay, so basically he's a soccer dad on a higher level.
He is, but I can't stand him either. I just like seeing you get worked up over this. But he came out and had an interview with some off-brand podcast reporter. I tried to get sound for it, but the video was so low quality that it sounded awful. But his exact words were that Michael Jordan, no contest. He said that back in I think it was at least a year ago. He had mentioned that he could take LeBron or Michael Jordan on, no problem. He just came out saying that he could take on LeBron also. No contest, wouldn't even be close. That LeVar Ball would 100% beat LeBron James one-on-one.
Yeah, coming from a guy that averaged 2.2 points a game or whatever.
In his 1 year Division I basketball?
Yeah. Right. And so, whatever. It's easy to say things when you know they can never be proven because neither LeBron James nor at his age right now, Michael Jordan, are interested, nor at their status level as NBA greats, legends, so to speak. Neither one of them are going to ever go, all right, I'm tired of this blowhard. I'm going to take him on. It's not going to happen.
I just thought it was funny that you'd think he was quiet for a while when he was overseas with his two younger sons, but I just think it's funny that he still thinks that he's the greatest athlete to ever walk the face of the planet as a 50-year-old male who, like you said, averaged 2 points in his 1 year of Division I college.
Look, I understand where he's at. You know, I've hit that century mark too, and there are times when I'm out there playing some church league softball or pickup basketball, and my brain says, all right, go do this, and my body goes, can't, not happening. And so I understand that in his mind, he is still that great athlete that averaged 2 points a game in that one college season, but in body, he's no longer that great athlete.
All right, before we get in our last break, we'll go into detail on this a little bit more either tomorrow or Wednesday, but we want to bring up the fact that the country of France has won the World Cup, beating the Cinderella Croatia team, and again, a team that nobody would ever thought would make it out of the qualifying rounds. But France did beat Croatia to win the World Cup yesterday, and there was some controversy that went around it.
There was a goal at the end of the first half that ended up coming on a penalty as a result of a handball called against Croatia. And the first I had read about it was yesterday evening, and had read where the Croatian coach was frustrated by it, clearly upset by it, and really made one statement. And according to the article, that's what he said. I will make just one statement about what happened at the end of the half. And his statement was that a call like that should not be made in the World Cup. And so I thought, wow, I've got to go back and read more and or look at more. And I did get a chance earlier this afternoon to see the highlight of the ball coming in down the goal line, you might say, and a Croatian player really lunging for it. And, the hands go out from the body and the head is going out as he was really trying to get his head on it. And the ball had enough movement that it never really hit his head. But from what I understand in reading everything, without seeing this match live, was that there was no call on the field, but that the replay official then called for, wait a minute, you need to look at this. And upon further review, they ultimately determined, yes, it did hit his hand. And one of the highlights that I saw was Fox Sports coverage of the World Cup, and the color commentator commenting, wait a minute, but look at it from this angle and you can see, and he immediately said, that's going to be a handball, that will be a penalty. And as I looked at it, I thought, look, I'm not familiar enough with the rules to know whether that should or should not be considered a handball, in that it was not intentional. And that seems to be the argument that I read from a lot of commenters. Some going, wait, it wasn't intentional. It was all part of the action. The ball just happened to, glance off of his hand into a point where the official didn't even see it in regulation timing or regular timing, full speed. And so it shouldn't have been a penalty. And others went, no, by the letter of the law, that was. Either way, the thought that hit me earlier today, and is something we can talk about, is just has the advancement in video technology and all of the leagues trying to make sure they get everything right all the time, which they can never do, have inserted video into every professional sport. Has it done more good or more harm to those sports? Because I looked at that and thought, without somebody in a booth somewhere looking at it on TV and hollering down to the official, hey, we need to go back and look at that again, that call is never made. The game goes on. It stays 1-1, and France doesn't end up getting a penalty kick right there, scoring, and taking a 2-1 lead before the half.
Definitely an interesting concept that we will definitely elaborate on throughout the week. And we will, as we did last week, we'll do a poll question this week to anybody who's out there listening, to all of our Facebook followers. Go onto the Talk Radio WRNR Facebook page following the show today, and we're going to put up a poll whether you think that instant replay is changing the game in a good way or changing the game in a bad way. And we'll read those results tomorrow. Again, this isn't a Matt Miller or Matt Crawford thing. This is strictly what you guys think that instant replay is doing to professional sports, and we will read the reactions from that tomorrow and as the week goes on, because again, it's a concept that has slowly taken over most professional sports.
Yeah, and even to a point where I hear more and more of, folks who say, let's use robots, so to speak, and or computers, to call balls and strikes, and start taking that element out of the game of baseball as well, because umpire strike zones vary or change, or, they call pitches 6 inches off the plate, or, some of them that are right down the middle, or even the upper part of the strike zone doesn't get called as much as, say, the lower. So let's do away with umpires. And I don't like that.
You can't take the human aspect out of the game.
Right. You can't do it.
Nothing is perfect. Sports aren't any exception. You got to keep the human error aspect in there.
I agree.
All right. But again, we will pose that question on our Facebook. So anybody listening or tell your friends, go on, and we want to hear what you guys think, whether instant replay in professional sports has negatively or positively impact the game. All right, we got to get in our last break. When we come back, we'll talk all-star lineups and the Home Run Derby this evening. You're listening to Talk Radio WRNR and Miller Time.
If we hadn't hit the brakes, we'd have nowhere. If you're a victim in a motor vehicle wreck or injured due to another person's fault, at Ferretti Law Office, we get to work protecting your rights and getting you the money you need and deserve. The insurance companies handling your claims want a fast and cheap settlement. Before making that mistake, call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505 to discuss your claim for free. You did not choose to be injured, but your choice of law firms can make a difference. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
As Asanovich goes to second with a 2 RBI double, and Martinsburg is on the board first.
This is West Virginia State delegate and former Little League All-Star Jason Barrett. I can still remember those summer days, the fun of playing baseball, building friendships, and learning lessons that are still with me today as I serve the people of the 61st District. I'm proud to support this year's All-Stars and wish the best to each team.
61st District Delegate Jason Barrett. Trusted leadership, real solutions.
Don't miss your chance to hang out with WVU Mountaineer play-by-play announcer Tony Caridi at the 9th Annual Inside the Huddle event, Friday, August 17th from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the riverfront properties of Terry Hess and Rick Pill at 911 Hoffman Road, Martinsburg, West Virginia. Tickets are just $40 a piece with a wide variety of sponsorship packages. For more information, call 304-263-1832. Don't miss the 9th Annual Inside the Huddle with Tony Caridi, Friday, August 17th.
It's that time of year again. I'm Ron Springer, head golf professional at the Woods, and I'm excited to announce the second annual Tournament of Champions on October 5th. Want to dethrone the 2017 champs? Now's the time to enter your team into one of the many qualifying tournaments here at the Woods. Not only can you win more money for your sponsoring organization, you can also win great prizes for you and your teammates. For a list of qualifying tournaments, see ads in the Journal, Around the Panhandle, and at thewoods.com. It's on.
For an Allstate agent, providing protection that fits your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and personalizing protection to meet them. From bundling your auto, home, and life insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage based on your protection needs, your Allstate agent can build an insurance proposal that fits your life. Are you in good hands? Contact Martinsburg Allstate agent Gary Kelly today for a free quote at 304-263-4596. Life insurance offered through Allstate Life Insurance Company and Allstate Assurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois, and American Heritage Life Insurance Company, Jacksonville, Florida.
Let's see. Load the clothes in the washing machine. Add detergent. Turn on the washer. Wait, where's all this water coming from? Oh, no!
Disasters happen. Fire, water, and natural disasters. Tell your insurance provider you prefer Blue Ridge Property Restore. Blue Ridge Property Restore, getting you back from disaster faster.
She's gonna kill me.
And we're welcome back into this Monday edition of Miller Time. Just a few short minutes left in our program. Again, Matt Crawford in here live in studio with Matt Miller joining us from our Pitcher's Chapel location, a.k.a. his living room, where he will be the majority of this week, filling in for Rob Mario in the morning. Matt, All-Star Week is upon us. The Home Run Derby in a couple hours from now, a little over 2 hours from now. You can hear that live here tonight on Talk Radio WRNR, and a pretty interesting Home Run Derby when you look at who is representing. Since they changed the format up a little bit, and it's not strictly AL versus NL, do you know the ratio of NL players to AL players this year, Matt?
I believe there are more NL players, including your couple of Cubbies guys, but I haven't looked at the overall ratio.
There is one American League batter in the Home Run Derby.
That is it? Bregman from Houston?
Yep, the sole hitter from the American League. Everybody else is National League.
I didn't even pay attention to that when those names were announced.
And this is what I want to put. Shouldn't a designated hitter in the American League mean that you should have a couple DHs in the Home Run Derby?
I don't know.
The supposedly I shouldn't say hitter weak, but the weaker hitting side of the major league divisions in the NL, which a lot of people think is the case strictly because of the DH versus the pitcher hitting, has 7 representatives to the American League's 1.
I guess just and while it could be, some guys not necessarily wanting to participate. I'm talking to David Welch this morning on Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, and, his connection to Reese Hoskins. And, he was commenting Hoskins is not in the All-Star game, was not voted as an All-Star, and yet is participating in the home run derby with, I believe it's 14 home runs in the first portion of the season before the break. It's not the first half, right down the line. But either way, here's a guy who, in his second year was interested and willing to participate. I'm sure there are guys. I haven't looked at the overall home run totals, to be honest, to see how many guys might be up there with even more home runs than a guy like Hoskins, but for whatever reason didn't want to participate.
Well, Hoskins, as you said, comes in with 14 home runs. He is the equivalent of an 8 seed in the home run derby today. He will take on Jesus Aguilar, if I can get that name out correctly, who has 24 home runs. This is on the left side of the bracket. Then you have Alex Bregman, the lone AL representative, taking on Kyle Schwarber in the 4-5 matchup. You have Bregman's 20 home runs, Schwarber's 18 home runs. So that is the left side of your bracket. Then the right side, you have Bryce Harper with 23 home runs, taking on Freddie Freeman with 16 home runs. And then Max Muncy from the Dodgers taking on Javi Baez. Muncy's 22 home runs to Baez's 19. So the last 4 the right side and the first 4 the left side of the bracket. So you will have the winner of Aguilar and Hoskins taking on the winner of Schwarber and Bregman. Then you'll have the winner of Harper and Freeman taking on the winner of Muncy and Baez.
So it could be the Baez and Schwarber final.
They set that up so that it could be that final. You have Kyle Schwarber, who is the number 5, I guess the 5th seed in the home run derby, if you want to look at it that way, and Baez is the 6th seed.
That could be fun. I could definitely set up some fun chatter in the locker room for the rest of the season, depending on how that would play out if those two guys square off.
How do you see this impacting Bryce Harper? Do you see this as a good thing, as a going to make him relax a little bit more, make him maybe a little looser at the plate for the second half of the season? Or do you see this sort of event making him just more focused on hitting home runs, and he really should be worrying about just his on-base percentage and smacking singles and doubles?
I don't know how to take this, to be honest, because if he's been feeling pressure in any way with the contract year and becoming a free agent and all of the talk about the amount of money that he could sign for, or if he's got in the back of his mind whether he's going to stay in DC or not, or if he's just swinging for the fences, whatever it is that has him hitting 214 or whatever it is on the season. Is this going to help him? Is this going to hurt him? Is he going to go out there? Because obviously he's going to feel some pressure tonight. He's in his home ballpark. There are going to be a lot of fans that are going to be cheering him as he comes up to the plate. I'm anxious to see how well he hits. If he goes out and performs well, I don't know that it impacts a whole lot of what he does in the next portion of the season down the stretch. But I think if he goes out and does not do well, it could certainly have a negative impact.
Definitely going to be one of the most talked about stories throughout this All-Star week is Bryce Harper, who will bat 6th at a whopping 214 in tomorrow's All-Star game. We will have a lot more on the All-Star game in tomorrow's Miller time and tomorrow morning with Matt Miller. Matt, thanks for joining us on your evening off.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take you to NBC Sports Radio, but tonight, starting at 7, we have the All-Star Home Run Derby. We appreciate you tuning in to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
Here's your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. According to a report in the Herald Mail, the Martinsburg Procter & Gamble plant has received about 5,700 applications for jobs at the company's Tabler Station plant, but is continuing to welcome new applicants as they work toward ramping up production. Keith Busby, P&G's human resources leader for the sprawling manufacturing site in the Tabler Station Business Park, said last Tuesday that the company is currently looking to hire about 350 workers from the immediate area. According to a press release from the Martinsburg Police Department, last Thursday, detectives with the MPD conducted a targeted enforcement of solicitation of prostitution in the city of Martinsburg. Using a female CI, officers arrested 5 men.